It's time now for business, beginning with a look at the markets. At the close of play on Wall Street on Wednesday, gains across the board. The Dow Jones ending just above the flat line, the S&P 500 ending up almost 0.2 of a percentage point. The Nasdaq ending up almost 0.6 of a percent. Well, as for Asian stocks this Thursday, a slightly mixed bag. Only the Shanghai Composite trading in positive territory, up almost 0.3%. The Nikkei, the Hang Seng, and the Kospi all trading down around 0.3 of a percent, as you can see there. Amazon's Prime Video streaming service has just been given a significant boost after the online retail giant announced it was buying one of Hollywood's oldest TV and film studios, MGM. Among MGM's best-known productions, James Bond, Legally Blonde, and The Pink Panther, with Amazon announcing it plans to give some of the studio's best-known characters a new lease of life with a series of new spin-offs. Well, for more, let's cross now to LA to speak with France 24's Alyssa Cavalli. Alyssa, is this a case of watch out Netflix?
It could be. It is definitely a case of watch out old Hollywood. We are now into new Hollywood. In recent years, although famous for those James Bond films, as you had mentioned, the studio MGM has been operating at actually a diminished capacity. So it's actually surprising a lot of insiders that the buyout was so large at $8.4 billion. And just to put that in perspective, MGM has been on the market probably for a few months now. They've been trying to kind of figure out what to do with the last remnants of what was once the biggest studio in Hollywood. And it's actually 40% more. The $8.45 billion that Amazon paid is 40% more than other prospective buyers who are kind of looking into buying MGM, including Apple and Comcast. They did not think MGM was obviously worth that much. So this really does show where Hollywood is going away from traditional studios and more towards streaming with Netflix, um, Hulu, Apple TV, Warner Brothers now doing their own streaming, saying that this type of merger is a symbol of one Hollywood era ending and another beginning. And this so basically, the studio, like I said, has been operating at a diminished capacity. And even more so, its Hollywood lot is now owned by Sony, and many of its biggest titles are owned by Warner Brothers, including The Wizard of Oz and Singing in the Rain. So it's interesting that Amazon would be willing to spend so much money on a studio that already has been fragmented in recent years.
So what then is the real interest here for Amazon, Alyssa?
Right. So there are a few theories. That all of that being said, with the fragment of MGM, MGM still owns, or did own, now Amazon owns, 4,000 of its older films, including movies like Rocky, Silence of the Lambs, Tomb Raider, The Thomas Crown Affair, Legally Blonde, as you had mentioned, Pink Panther. So there are still a lot of really great films that Amazon wants to take advantage of and be able to do what they want with, whether that is creating new series, whether it's creating spin-offs, whether it's creating other sequels, that kind of thing. Now, another big draw is obviously James Bond. That is a huge franchise in and of itself, and Amazon would hold about 50% of the ownership of that. The other half is still owned by Barbara Broccoli and her brother. They own the estate of James Bond, and they actually have the sole creative content, including deciding when a new James Bond film is made. So that is a little bit of a pull for Amazon. But quickly, the bigger pull is the fact that they are hoping it will attract more people to purchase their Amazon Prime subscription. So basically, when you have an Amazon Prime subscription, you then have access to Amazon Prime Video. And they are hoping that having all of this content to be able to create, they will attract more people to spend more money on Amazon proper.
Alyssa Cavalli in Los Angeles, thank you very much. Now, the finance ministers of both France and Germany have confirmed that a framework on a minimum global tax rate could be agreed within weeks. That announcement comes ahead of a meeting of G7 finance ministers. Ellen Gainsford has the details.
After years of debates and disagreements, a framework on a minimum global tax rate could be within reach. With the US on board, French and German finance ministers say a deal is close.
Le changement d'administration avec l'arrivée au pouvoir de M. Biden offre une opportunité historique de rejoindre les positions que nous avons défendues avec l'Allemagne, de rejoindre les positions de l'immense majorité des États européens pour une plus juste taxation internationale.
Le Maire and other supporters want to combat tax havens in an increasingly global and digital economy. The working proposal would include a 15% minimum tax rate for corporations, targeting international conglomerates and tech companies like Google, Apple, Facebook, and Amazon. G7 finance ministers are set to meet in London in the beginning of June and could announce a breakthrough on the bones of the plan. Then, in early July, there's a broader gathering of G20 ministers, while the OECD continues to lead negotiations on a global level.
So I'm quite optimistic that when we get this agreement in the OECD, when we get it in G7, G20, it will be also something that will be part of the European legislation.
But not everyone is on board. Ireland, which currently has one of the lowest corporate tax rates in the world, has come out against the plan, although there's still a definite sense of forward momentum for a deal.